Happy holidays, everyone, and also Allison.
God bless us, everyone.
Yeah. Who's the I'm the tiny Tim of this household.
Sure, Roman.
You're the Scrooge. Lucy is
Wait, how am I the Scrooge?
Lucy's the collective underclass.
Well, someone has to be Bob Cratchit.
I guess Lucy's Bob Cratchit. She's sort of hapless.
What about the spirits?
Well, there are only 3 of us.
Well, maybe that's who we are.
The 3 spirits?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You're the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah, that's probably right. Well, you're going to live the longest, so you should be the ghost of Christmas future. Lucy's going to live the amount in between us.
Wow, really? You think? You think Lucy's going to outlive you?
I think she'd like to. She would see it as a victory.
It's CD business. It's CD business.
But anyway, yeah, Merry Christmas, I guess, specifically. We're going to talk about Christmas trees today. Last night we watched the McElroy's Candlemas special.
Candle nights.
Yeah, that's right. Candle night. Sorry. Candlemas, of course.
You suddenly tried to make this into a religious thing.
Candlemas, of course, for the uninitiated, is a high church holiday celebrated on February 2nd. Traditionally, Candlemas is supposed to fall like 33 days after a boy's circumcision. It's built around the circumcision calendar, as so many holidays are. But anyway, yeah, no, candle nights is but we're denominational in this household.
Who's we?
I mean, we have a Christmas tree and no other pan-religious paraphernalia.
What makes a Christmas tree? How do you know it's a Christmas tree?
I mean, first of all, it has to be inside, I think.
Okay, so no outdoor trees are Christmas trees?
Well, I mean, there's classically the Rockefeller Center. Like, lots of cities have a notable... Wasn't the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree a piece of shit this year?
It got a lot of...
Did it have a lot of animals living in it when it got there?
Well, it had an owl rescued out of it, I think. And yeah, I mean, it had a lot of random animals living in it.
But also like a huge hole in it, I think.
Well, I think it got mocked a lot online, but it had also been strapped to a truck for like 2 days or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's a miracle that...
And I think everyone agrees that it looks good now.
Oh, they really dolled it up.
Yeah, I mean, once it had time to settle and then they decorated it and stuff. Yeah. I mean, every tree's going to have some empty spots, and a very big tree might have some big empty spots that they have to fill in. Yeah,
I mean, historically, our trees, we typically wait until we are nearly the last people to get a tree. The tree, I don't know what you call it, tree shop, the tree store, the tree lot, that's the word for it probably.
Yeah.
Because it's in a parking lot that we went to, had like caution taped off the place. Like they had sold out almost all of their inventory besides like a dozen of their shittiest trees. And they looked closed when we pulled in.
I thought they were closed.
Yeah, me too. But it turns out we were able to get one of their worst remaining trees, and I love it.
I mean, we got a deal this year.
It was like $15,
it was $15,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we not only go shitty, we go small too. But yeah, back to your question. So, dear listener, we're gonna read some descriptions of various varieties of trees used as Christmas trees. Conifers, how they're called?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're going to read some of those descriptions. We'll get to that. This week and next week are going to be holiday episodes, less structured. I'll probably edit them less. We'll do Christmas trees this week, and then next week we're going to have a very special episode where, I don't know if I should say what we're going to talk about, but it's Christmas tree adjacent. We might also have a video component on Instagram. We've argued about it.
Well, I'm sure all 44 of our Instagram followers
want to look at
really
our
want to see a video
faces and bodies.
Yeah.
Sure. But anyway, yeah, back to your question of what constitutes a Christmas tree. I would argue that being inside is more important than being decorated.
It has to be dead. It has to have been cut down. It can't be a potted tree.
No, I think it can be a potted tree. I think there are some, and I've been rooting around online. There's an article on the Gardenista website, which is titled DIY, Plant Your Christmas Tree in the Garden, where I think there are some people who like move their tree in and out each year.
You might remember that the place where we got our Christmas trees in Durham offered potted trees as an option. And several times we talked about maybe we should get one.
Yeah.
But then each time we thought, surely I'll graduate from grad school soon. And then we would just have to deal with it somehow.
I mean, there are a lot of like plans we have for the house and property that only work if we're going to be in one place for long enough. Yeah, I guess there is a community of people who have them outside for the rest of the year and then bring them inside. There's some guidelines in terms of doing acclimation processes in both directions. So you're not just, especially if you live in a colder place, ripping your tree out of sub-zero weather into your 75-degree house. This site encourages you to use your garage as an intermediary step. I don't know. What do you think makes a Christmas tree a Christmas tree?
I think you have to either decorate it or light it on fire.
Would you let us have tiny saucer things with the candles on them?
Absolutely not. No. I guess you could do it for like 5 minutes once to see what it would be like and then blow out all the candles so that you don't start a house fire.
Would you let us have, as we've talked about before, this sort of light bulbs that our grandparents did that were essentially fires in that they were, I remember burning myself every time I would touch, and of course you're going to touch the lights if you're a kid, and I remember just burning myself in a way that required medical attention.
So my grandparents had those, the kind of big incandescent bulbs.
Yeah.
I loved them. I wish that I had asked for a string or two of them after my grandparents died, but they didn't put them on the tree because they also knew that was dangerous.
Yeah.
So they only used them outdoors, places where you couldn't reach.
I think my grandparents, I should check with my parents, but I remember that they did have a fire that they immediately addressed. Like it didn't burn the house down, but their tree did catch on fire at one point.
I mean, I don't know what they did in the 60s or whenever they first bought those lights. They probably did put them on the tree in the house at that point. But by the time I was a kid, I think they knew better than to do that.
Sure. I mean, they do look great.
They're gorgeous. Yeah.
I mean, we have LEDs of comparable size to what those were on our tree.
These are smaller. These are bullshit. Don't kid yourself.
Yeah, maybe. But the trees themselves, did your family have real trees growing up?
My parents did an artificial tree, and my grandparents did a real tree.
Actually, we should probably save this for next week. So next week's CD Short is going to be, we're going to read descriptions of artificial trees, incidentally. But this week, we're going to read descriptions of real tree varieties. There are a lot of good resources I've found. There's a fun WikiHow on how to grow your own Christmas tree. But I thought in terms of reading about the varieties, we could go to pickyourownChristmasTree.org, which I found to be a good resource. So there's a chart at the top that lists the various kinds of firs, pine, and spruce trees that are typically used for Christmas trees. There's the Douglas, balsam, and Fraser firs, the Scotch and white pines, and the white, Norway, and blue spruces. And then whoever the expert authority who runs pickyourownChristmasTree.org, they have rated each of these varieties in the following categories: needle holding without water, needle holding with water, firmness of branches, fragrance, needle softness, and of course cost.
Do you think it was a white pine we got that year that the tree was really soft?
Well, let's read some of the descriptions and look at some of the pictures, and maybe we'll get a better sense.
Because that's the only time we've gotten a tree that's not a Fraser fir.
They, would you say, are the most common?
I think around here.
If I'm looking just at the chart of ratings, I would think that I wanted a balsam fir. It's really maxing out most of the categories. It could have firmer branches, but in terms of needle softness, fragrance, needle holding without water, and needle holding with water, it's top of the heap.
I mean, fragrance should really be a number one consideration.
It should be. I don't think that that's fragrance strength, which you could have. That's very.
You think it's fragrance beauty?
Yeah, I think so. Because the strongest isn't necessarily the best. The strongest might be overpowering and unpleasant after a while.
No way.
Do you want to start with the firs?
Yeah, where else would we start?
So the intro to the firs section says, fir trees are the traditional Christmas tree for most Americans because they have the key qualities: great fragrance, short, sturdy needles and branches, good needle retention. If keep watered and not in a hot room, they'll hold their needles up to Christmas. Wow, there could be some additional copy editing on this.
I want to talk about their decision to, instead of just showing a photograph of a tree, they've decided to try to
crop out,
lasso tool out in Photoshop the background, whatever backdrop was behind the tree. I mean, it's a real disaster. The idea that you're going to crop out the background
is truly horrible.
Behind a tree.
I don't know, but something makes me trust this random website.
Yeah, I noticed that none of the sites I found and suggested were included in your roundup.
They didn't have bulky descriptions.
Did they have nice descriptions, though?
They had nice pictures. Tell me about the balsam fir.
3/4 inch to 1.5 inch, short, flat, long-lasting needles that are rounded at the tip. Nice dark green color with silvery cast and fragrant. These needles are 3/4 to 1.5 inches in length and last a very long time. Yeah, I mean, sorry to interrupt, but boy.
Yeah, this is almost a...
So you chose this based on its length without regard for its absolute redundancy.
Keep going.
I think we should go to one of the websites I picked, but all right. This is the traditional Christmas tree that most Americans grew up with. This tree has a dark green appearance and retains its pleasing fragrance throughout the Christmas season. Named for the balsam or resin found in blisters on bark. Resin is used to make microscope slides and was sold like chewing gum. Used to treat wounds in Civil War. Okay, so you picked this because it's bad and that delights you?
Oh, I mean, it does delight me.
All right. Well, if it delights you.
The Canaan fir is similar to the other eastern firs. Canaan fir has short, soft needles that are dark green on the upper surface and silvery blue on the underside. It combines the strong fragrance of the balsam fir with the better needle retention of the Fraser fir. It is native to isolated pockets in the mountains of West Virginia and Virginia, but it is commercially grown in many areas of the East Coast.
Douglas fir. Good fragrance. Holds blue to dark green, 1 inch to 1.5 inch needles. Needles have one of the best aromas among Christmas trees when crushed. The Douglas fir needles radiate in all directions from the branch. When crushed, these needles have a sweet fragrance. They are one of the top major Christmas tree species in the U.S., named after David Douglas, who studied the tree in the 1800s. Good conical shape. Can live for 1,000 years.
Wow. One of their daddies could have seen the birth of the Lord Jesus Christ.
I cannot believe that they are trying to lasso tool out the background behind every
We'll link to this site.
Tree on their page. This is madness. Only a madman would do this.
The Fraser fir. Dark green, flattened needles, 1/2 to 1 inch long. Dark green on the top and silvery underneath. Good needle retention. Nice scent, pyramid-shaped, strong branches which turn upward. The Fraser fir branches turn slightly upward. They have good form and needle retention. Am I having a stroke?
Okay, you made this happen. You said we had to use this website. We should read some descriptions that are good at some point,
that's
right?
Fine. They have a pleasant scent and excellent shipping characteristics as well. Named for a botanist, John Fraser, who explored the southern Appalachians in the late 1700s. The only grow...
Hey, you can just copy it.
Okay, they only grow in cooler climates, north of Georgia, for example. In borderline areas like North Carolina, Fraser firs only grow at higher elevations, 4,500 feet or above. They can grow on north-facing slopes, though, as low as 2,300 feet elevation.
This is like a 13-year-old had to write a school report on these trees. This is a person who does not know what information is important or how to organize thoughts or write a paragraph.
Sometimes you need to hear that something has a pleasant scent 3 times in one paragraph. All right. Well, give me a...
You think they were being paid by the word? What's going on here?
This site also has like a large number of, like, there's the grand fir, the noble fir, the Nordman fir, the white fir, the concolor fir. Then they have, in terms of pines, the Afghan pine, the Austrian pine, the Monterey pine, which is also called the radiata pine, the Norway pine, the ponderosa pine, the Scotch pine, the Virginia pine, the white pine. And then for spruces, they have the Black Hills spruce, the blue spruce, the Colorado blue spruce, the Meyer spruce, the Norway spruce, the Serbian spruce, and the white spruce. Not even getting into the cedars and cypress trees that they have. There are a lot of options for Christmas trees that I didn't know existed. All right, so Allison has redirected me to the National Christmas Tree Association's website. It looks extremely reputable. They note a 65-year history. I don't know that there's any reason to believe this is more reputable than pickyourownChristmasTree.org, but I guess we'll find out.
Well, I don't think my dispute was over the accuracy of the information, but you agree that
the descriptions on this site don't read like they're written by someone who
has
recently had a stroke.
The person writing the descriptions on that other site, that is not a professional copywriter.
No,
Let's put it that way. It's not even a competent writer.
I'm going to start with the Leland cypress on this site. It notes that it's the most popular Christmas tree in the Southeast. The Leland cypress is a dark green-gray in color and has very little aroma. Because it is not in the pine or fir family, it does not produce sap, so those with an allergy to sap can still enjoy a Leland as their Christmas tree. Is it possible we have at any point had one of these?
No, I don't think we've ever had a cypress tree.
Have they been available to us? This is a bold claim that they're the most popular Christmas tree in the Southeast.
I think I probably have seen cypress trees for sale at Christmas tree lots we've been to in the past.
I mean, they have like the softer needles on them, right?
I mean, the Leyland, I'm assuming this is pronounced Leyland cypress.
Sure, why not?
Is definitely not what we had the year we had the soft needled tree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that I would definitely want to prioritize something with a good smell. It seems like one of the main benefits to having a tree. So maybe not this.
Well, it looks like the Leyland cypress is a hybrid tree that grows very quickly, even in poor soils.
It looks like pine trees are adapted to sandy soil. So maybe we could grow a pine tree here. I don't know if they're they can grow in just straight sand, which is maybe what our lawn is. But
I'm not convinced that the beach in Florida is
a great place to grow a Christmas tree.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah. Do people around here occasionally use palm trees as Christmas trees whimsically?
I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, if we had a kind of largish potted palm, I would have proposed just using that as our Christmas
for
tree.
Sure.
Or even, I don't know, a lemon tree or something. That would be a lovely Christmas tree.
Yeah, that'd be charming. It has ready-made ornaments on it.
Noble fir. These needles turn upward, exposing the lower branches. Known for its beauty, the noble fir has a long keepability, and its stiff branches make it a good tree for heavy ornaments, as well as providing excellent greenery for wreaths and garland.
What's our heaviest ornament?
Well, we don't actually have any ornaments this year.
We have no traditional ornaments. We shove a bunch of stuff into the tree.
But we left off all of our what would be typically thought of as ornaments this year.
That's true. We do have a ton of ornaments, and I will bleep this, made out of... And I feel like we're probably the only people who have those ornaments.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I mean, everything on our tree besides the lights is garbage of some... Yeah, it's all... This is a zero waste tree.
Yeah.
Except for the LED lights.
Right. I'll read the Virginia pine. These branches are stout and woody and respond well to trimming. The tree is small to medium size and its foliage becomes extremely dense. Aside from being a good nesting site for woodpeckers, the Virginia pine continues to be one of the more popular Christmas trees in the South. Another one that they claim we would see a lot in the South. But I feel like we only have encountered really firs. But I guess they are the dominant kind everywhere, probably.
I think Fraser firs are extremely popular, and Doug firs.
Mm-hmm. All right, read one more.
White spruce. The white spruce is excellent for ornaments. Its short, stiff needles are 1/2 to 3/4 inches long and have a blunt tip. They are bluish-green to green in color, but have a bad aroma when needles are crushed.
Shocking.
They have excellent foliage color and have a good natural shape. The needle retention is better in a white spruce than it is among other spruces.
So it really excels in all categories except it smells like shit?
I guess. So this would be a good outdoor Christmas tree, maybe?
I guess so. That's a shame. Of the things we've read about, which do you think Lucy would like to eat most?
Douglas fir.
I was going to say a cypress. Maybe we should do an experiment.
I disagree.
I mean, she does recreationally eat needles off the fir and then poop them out.
Do you think she does that?
I do. Not poop them out, throw them up.
Oh, well, yeah, but I would say last year she didn't throw up any.
She's really reduced her vomiting.
She's, I think, learned not to eat Christmas trees over the years.
Well, they look so good.
Well, I'm glad we got to rag on the hapless writer of pickyourownchristmastree.org.
Well, after all, this is at its core, a podcast about copy, right?
Yeah, well, it's important to bully strangers for Christmas whenever it's available to you.
I hope that whoever the writer is for that site, is having a cozy, warm Christmas with loved ones, but not loved ones outside of their home, just loved ones inside of their home. And that they have a fruitful and productive and educational 2021.
And I hope they're visited by 3 ghosts.
One of them being you, one of them being me, and one of them being our cat.
Well, who tell them...
Each of whom bullies them.
Who tells them about the terrible consequences
of bad
copywriting. If they continue down this path, before they know it, there'll be terrible consequences.
In A Christmas Carol, what are the consequences ultimately for Scrooge? He dies from being mean?
No, the consequences are when he dies, everyone who knows him is glad.
Is thrilled. Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Well,
it's too bad no one seems to be afraid of that consequence any longer.
Yeah.
What do you think is the essential difference between Ebenezer Scrooge and the Grinch? How are their stories different?
Well, the Grinch has that big fat ass that I like so much. The Grinch is thick. I don't know what Scrooge looks like, but I have to assume he is skin and bones.
Yeah, he's a flinty man for sure.
I mean, in terms of their personas.
Well, they're both stories of people learning that if they don't celebrate Christmas, then the world will be worse somehow.
Well, no, the Grinch learns that regardless of what he does, their lives are the same pretty much, right?
Well, so he's motivated. It's his own
impotence he has to address.
He's motivated by shame at the inadequacy of his attempts to thwart Christmas.
Right.
Whereas Scrooge is motivated by shame at the thought that everyone will hate him.
Yeah.
Until and after his death.
But, I mean, in their lives, it seems to me that Scrooge treats others with indifference and cruelty that is just a byproduct of his own selfishness, where for the Grinch, it seems like cruelty is the point, to quote a seminal article over the last 4 years.
Which do you think is worse? Being cruel because you enjoy it for its own sake, or being cruel because it brings you financial rewards beyond what you can use to make your own life any better?
It's sort of a leading question, but I think you're right. At least if a person's being cruel because it brings them genuine joy, somebody's getting genuine joy.
I mean,
what we're trying to parse out is why we like the Grinch more than Scrooge, I think, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Grinch is a much more lovable character than Scrooge.
But even before he makes the turn, he is.
Yeah, even though the thing that he finds mostly annoying is that people will sound happy and he'll overhear them and it will disturb his intense concentration on his own misery. I assume that's the issue the Grinch has with Christmas.
Well, one other difference is that the Grinch is a crooked, dirty jockey who drives a crooked hoss. I don't think that you could say that about Scrooge.
Well,
you're a 3-decker sauerkraut and toadstool sandwich with arsenic sauce.
I think all of those things apply to both characters, actually.
Okay, fair enough. All right, like we mentioned, next week's CD short will probably be the same length as this episode, but we're going to talk about, we're going to read descriptions of fake Christmas trees, and you might get to watch us doing it on Instagram if you're so inclined. And if you're so inclined, you can follow us on Twitter at CD Business or on Instagram at CD Business Pod. You can email us at cdbusinesspod@gmail.com. As always, if you'd like us to review a particular catalog or I guess a random website, let us know. If you leave us an iTunes review, we'll of course be delighted to read it. And as long as it's not a dead tomato splotched with moldy purple spots, you should eat your vegetables.
We're all just doing the best we can.
Speak for yourself.
It's CD business. It's CD business. Boring talk about seeds, CD talk between pores. Mind-numbing chatter about ovals and spores. We'll take a ditch and we'll moan and split the difference. It's CD business. It's CD